today's session is write an algorithm to find largest among three numbers. Right? There can be a varieties, or there can be more than one logic to solve this particular problem. Okay, here I'm going to solve with one particular method. Okay, the point of learning here is that how do we mention the pseudocode conventions, how do we make use of the pseudocode conventions in order to write the algorithm. That is the focusing point. Okay, these you have already written the programs for this type of problems in either in C or in Java, right? So here you just focus on the how we write the pseudocode conventions. Okay, now as we are going to write the algorithm, and definitely that is going to be a procedure. So the procedure always will begin with the clause called as algorithm. If you remember, right, it is called an algorithm, followed by the valid name for that particular procedure. Since this particular problem is for the largest of three numbers, let me call it to be a largest. Okay, then a pair of braces that indicate the body of this particular procedure. So if you notice here, the procedure, is this particular procedure accepting any parameters or it is not accepting any parameters? Can anyone tell?
No parameters.
No parameters. Very good. Now, since the algorithm or the procedure is not taking any parameters, then we need to pass the parameters explicitly here, right? So read, since I need three numbers, I will call them to be a variables A, B, and C. Read A, B, and C. Then next what we should do, once the input is done, then we need to write the logic for finding the largest among those three particular numbers. The simplest form is that have an condition if, okay, try to check the first number whether is A greater than B and A is also greater than C. If this is true, what has to be done? I need to write the output as write A. Okay, now quickly look into these particular two lines. Tell me whether is there any incorrect in this pseudocode convention. A quick test for you all guys. Can you identify the error in this particular line, these two lines, just with respect to the pseudocode convention? Unmute yourself and speak. For me, it becomes little difficult to look into the chart. Anyone?
Then
Sir,
The clause then is not written here. So we have to write a then clause here. So if the condition and then followed by the clause then, and then the corresponding statements of the proof block are written. Okay. In the similar way, we can write the other statements like else if B is greater than A and B is greater than C. If that is true, that is then write B, right? And in the last clause, we can just have write C, right? It is very simple, no? You first compare A with B and C. If A is greater than both B and C, then definitely A is largest. If not, take up the B variable, second number, check that second number whether it is greater than first number or the third number. If that is so, then definitely B is largest. If neither A nor B is largest, then definitely C is going to be largest. Right? This is the quick solution, that is the algorithm to find the largest among three numbers. Okay, quickly write down this particular algorithm in your notebook. I will give you a minute of time. Quickly complete it. If anyone is having any doubts, you can ask your doubts right now. Shall we proceed further?
Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
Yes. Next exercise is based upon this one. Write an algorithm to accept 3 subject marks and find total average and then display the result. Okay, look into here this particular program. This is also one of the popular solution problem, right, which you definitely have written in C and Java also, right? Here the input is what? 3 subject marks. The input is 3 subject marks, and we are going to calculate the total marks of those 3 subjects and an average. Once it is calculated, then we will only display the result. Okay, now here I have not put up the split up of the result here, how the result is distributed. It is self understood that if a student is supposed to be pass, then definitely all the 3 subjects he should score a passing number. Assume that passing number here is 35 marks, right? If in all 3 subjects, if a student scores greater than or equal to 35 marks, that means the student is passed. If he is passed, then based upon the average, we can classify the result as a distinction if it is greater than or equal to 70, or if it is greater than or equal to 60, first class. If it is greater than or equal to 50, then it is second class, or else it can be a pass class, right? So if any one of the subject student has failed, then the result is going to be a fail. So that is the problem here, and we are going to write the algorithm. You can simultaneously write the algorithm here. It is very simple. So start with the word algorithm, the clause algorithm, followed by the name of the algorithm here. I will write it as a result and its body. Now, and also this particular algorithm is not going to take any parameters. So directly we can give the parameters inside the body of the algorithm. We require 3 subject marks. So call them to be a M1, M2, and M3. That is the input. Now, I need to compare all these particular marks are passing marks or not. If they are passing marks, then I'm going to write the logic to calculate the total average and then display the result. If any one of the subject marks is fail, then definitely I'm going to make the result as fail. Okay. So here the condition would be what? The first subject M1, is it greater than or equal to 35? Right? Second subject is what? M2 greater than or equal to 35 and M3 greater than or equal to 35. If all these 3 subjects are, all these 3 conditions are true, then only I'm going to calculate the corresponding logic, or I'm going to write the logic for calculating the total average and then result. Otherwise, it is going to be what? It is going to be as simple as the right operation, that is right. I will just mention it to be a fail. Okay, now we need to write the corresponding conditional, that is the logical operations here. Can anyone tell me what logical operations I need to involve between these 3 relational operations in order to and, right? So everyone thinks that it is and. Yes, that is correct. Or will not come here. If it becomes or, then our logic will fail. So it should be and here, and here also it should be and. Okay, now why it is and? Suppose if this particular first subject is true, then it will also check for the second condition. Second condition should also be true. Third condition also should be true. If all these 3 conditions are true, then that means what? In each and every subject, the student has scored the passing marks. Then only we can classify or we can calculate the result for that one, either as a distinction, first class, second class, or a pass class. Otherwise, definitely the student is going to be a fail class. So that will be covered under the else block. Okay, now, so far understood? Any difficulties here?
No, sir.
Okay, next. So here we are going to write the logic for calculating the total. So total is very simple, right? Total equals to, how do I write a equals to here? I want to assign the value. So what is the notation? pseudocode convention I should use? Total is going to be
colon
Colon equal to.
colon equals to. Very good. So
Equal.
total colon is equals to M1 plus M2 plus M3, right? Then the second calculation will be what? To calculate the average. So let me use the variable name AVG here. So again, average is equals to. So I need to assign again. So it is going to be colon equals to. It is going to be total divided by 3. Okay, clear? Here we know need to focus upon 3.0 or it is 3. As I said, we can directly go ahead with the numbers here. We will not focus more upon the floating point numbers or the data type of that. Okay, average is equals to total divided by 3. So once this particular total is calculated, what we should do based upon the average, that is based upon the average, we are going to classify the result as either as the distinction. When the student will score distinction, if the average, if it is greater than or equals to 70, then the student scores or the result will be a distinction. So we have written the corresponding statement here. If average greater than or equal to 70, then we are going to write the result as what? Distinction. Right? Suppose if this is not the case, then else if average is greater than or is equals to 60, then we are going to write the result as first class. If this is also not true, then it is going to be else, then if is that average is greater than or equal to 50, then we are going to write it as second class. If that is also not true, then definitely the result is going to be just pass class. This is how our algorithm for this given problem looks like. Now, have a look at this algorithm. Let me know if there are any difficulties here. And simultaneously, you can just complete writing this algorithm in your Fairbook. Any difficulties to understand this particular algorithm?
no sir.
Yeah, this type of logic already you have used. Only the point of learning here is that how we can make use of the pseudocode conventions here, right? I will give you a minute, look into this and complete the algorithm. Then we will go with the next one. Anyone needs explanation here? The kind of a tracing if you need here, do you require?
No sir.
Okay. Yes. Shall we proceed further? Did you complete writing?
Yes, sir.
The next concept we are going to learn is something called as an recursive algorithms. Right? Already we have studied a concept called as an recursion. Can anyone tell me what is the meaning of recursion? Anyone remember?
Repetition.
Repetition. Okay. So repetition, I don't think it is a proper. Can you just improvise your answer, Manisha? Repetition, I can treat it to be a for loop,
Repetition.
right? For loop is also a
Yes, sir.
repetition. While loop is also repetition, right? But recursion, it is a repetition only, but you need to add a couple of more words there. Can you try?
Calling itself repeatedly.
Yes, exactly. If there is a function, and if that function calls itself, right? Then we call it to be a recursive function, and this mechanism is called as an recursion. Right? Suppose if you have written any user-defined function, if you already know, right, two things. One is the calling function and a called functions. In user-defined functions, definitely you would have studied that. If a user-defined function has to be executed, then someone should call it, right? Then only it will get executed. But if that particular function is being called by itself, then we call it to be a recursive. And that the same concept is also applicable in the algorithms, right? The recursive algorithms are the algorithms which are called by itself, right? Now, there are two different types of recursive algorithms. There are two types. The first one is direct, okay, and the second one is indirect. Okay, the direct is very simple, which you have already studied. Like, assume that if there is an algorithm A, I'm calling an algorithm by A, and if this particular algorithm A calls itself, then we can call it to be a direct recursive algorithm. If an algorithm A calls itself, so we can call it to be a direct recursive algorithm. The second type of a algorithm, the recursive algorithm, is an indirect. So indirect means what happens? Now here we need to think of more than one algorithm. So for instance, let us consider there are two algorithms by the name A and B. There are two algorithms A and B. Now the mechanism how it is happening is that A is calling B. Okay. Then later what will B will do? B will call A. Right? So two algorithms A and B. The algorithm A is calling the algorithm B, and the algorithm B is calling algorithm A. Do you think that is there a recursion here? Do you think that there is a recursion? The algorithms A and B are repeatedly getting executed, right? The flow of execution is happening between the same two algorithms A and B. A is calling B and B is in turn calling A. So like this, the recursive nature will get established. This type of recursiveness, we call it to be a indirective recursive or indirective recursion. Followed, students? You may get a question for 2 marks. Okay, this is only for just 2 marks here. Like define recursive algorithms and mention its types, or it could be explain 2 types of recursive algorithms. So in any of the questions, you need to write the definition of a recursive algorithm and then put those 2 different types and then explain in one line what is the direct recursive algorithm with the example, and the same thing for the indirective recursive algorithms. Okay, for 2 marks. This is very simple. Understood this concept?
Yes, sir.
Why we are studying this recursive? Why this? I just explained quickly or briefly about the recursive algorithm is because we are going to write certain algorithms for a given programs using the recursive nature. Okay, let us go with the first one. Pay attention. This is going to be little interesting. Write an iterative and recursive algorithms to find factorial of a number. So here we are going to write 2 different algorithms. One using only the iterative concept, and second one using the recursive concept. So 2 different algorithms. The first one you definitely might be aware about, right? This is something the programs which you have already written, right? Before that, you know what is factorial of a number? Definitely you must know, right? You must be knowing what is the factorial of a number. Can anyone tell me what is the factorial of 4?
4, 3,
Yes, 24.
24.
24. What is factorial of 1?
1.
1.
Factorial of 0?
1.
1.
Factorial of -1?
We cannot
0.
find, sir.
We cannot find. right? So these are the things we need to implement, or we need to write an algorithm that should implement all these scenarios, like a negative number, a number 0, the number should be 1, or number can have greater than 1 value, right? For these examples or these type of scenarios, we need to write the algorithms. First, quickly begin with the iterative. That is going to be a very simple one, right? So now let me in this particular algorithm also, I will not take a number from as a parameter. I will pass it to I will read the number within the algorithm. So algorithm, okay, factorial, let me call it to be a factorial, and its body. I need a number, right? So read n, read n. Okay, now what I need to do, I need to have certain scenarios, right? The number can be a negative number. If it is a negative number, then I cannot calculate the factorial. So I will have a quick check. That is, if this n is less than 0, right? If the number is less than 0, then definitely I cannot calculate the factorial. So just write a message saying to be factorial, or the let me call it to be an invalid number. Invalid number, right? Suppose if this condition is false, that means the number is not a negative number, it is a positive number. Then in positive number, then again there can be a different scenario, right? We get the factorial as 1 whenever the number is 0 or number is 1. So that case also we will cover it here. So let us have again a else part, and in that if that particular number is equals to 0. Now I want to do the equality here between the number and 0. How do I mention the convention, the algorithm convention here for the equality?
Colon
Equal. Equal
Colon
to.
equals,
Just equal.
equal.
colon equals means it is an assignment, right?
Equals to. Equals to.
Equals to.
Double
How
equal.
many equals to sign?
Relational operator.
Relational operator. How many equals to sign will come? Is that 2 or
Single.
1? It is single. So if this n is equals to 0, or is that n is equals to 1, right? If either the cases, that is if n is 0 or n is 1, then definitely the factorial is going to be what? 1. So I will write a message, right, as factorial is equals to 1, right? So all those three different cases have been covered: a negative number, number 0, a number 1, right? If the number is greater than 1, then we need to cover, or we need to write the logic for that particular number to find the factorial. So that will be covered in this particular else block, right? So you know, right? We take a one particular variable f or a fact which we initialize with the 1 initially, and then we do write a for loop, right? So something if we quickly want me to write, say we will take a, I'm just writing a small piece of code which is usually you write it in a programming language. Fact is equals to 1, you write, then you take a for, right? I is equals to n, I greater than or equal to 1, I minus minus, and then within this particular body we are going to write a particular statement. Or I can just remove this also. Here we will write usually what, fact is equals to fact into I, something like this we write, and then the finally we will just display that particular fact value, right? These statements we now have to convert it into an algorithm, right? So first take a variable fact, initialize with the value 1, fact colon equals to 1. Then we need to write the for loop here. How do we write a for loop in algorithm conventions, in a pseudocode convention? The clause for, can anyone guide me? For variable I equals to 1, that is I equals to n, that is from the initial value to the final value. So what is the final value here?
1.
1. Then what is going to be step?
-1.
-1, and then do. Very good. So this is something as for I equals to n, I greater than or equals to 1, I minus minus, right? So initial value of I is n, the final value of I is 1, and every time you decrement the I by minus 1 and perform the repeated action. So repeated action is going to be what? Fact is equals to fact into I. Fact is equals to fact into I. And once this particular for loop gets completed, we get a value which is stored in the fact variable as the factorial. So we can just simply write the output statement, that is write factorial equals to, okay, and I want to write a constant string also as well as a variable. So the notation goes like this: factorial equals to within the double quotes and a comma, then the fact. So how it happens? The factorial is equals to will be printed, and then the fact is going to be printed. This is one type of a notation which we can make use of. Right now, look into this algorithm. If you have any difficulties, please feel free to ask. Write down this algorithm, or if you are wishing to take a snapshot of this and then write, that is also accepted. No worries. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Shall we proceed with the second one here, recursive?
Yes, sir.
The recursive algorithm will be very much shorter than what we have written here. But we are going to split up into two different algorithms here. The recursive algorithm itself will be written in two different steps. Why two different steps? Because the recursive algorithms will definitely take a parameter, right? That parameter has to be passed from another algorithm, right? Like that, in a simple way, if I can explain this, a kind of an analogy, you write, most of the time you write an main function, and from the main function, we are going to call the recursive function, right? In the same way here, first we will write our main algorithm. In the main algorithm, what we will do, we will check whether that particular number is a negative number or not. If it is a negative number, then we cannot calculate the factorial. If it is not a negative number, then only we will call the factorial algorithm. And then recursively, it will find out the factorial of that number and then returns the value. Okay. Now, so here, the first part will be algorithm for mean. So here, how we're going to write algorithm mean. Okay. And here, we will perform simple steps like read a particular number n. If this particular n, say if n is less than 0, then we say that invalid number. If not, we will call the another algorithm, that is factorial here, factorial. And this time we will pass the value or the variable n to it. Okay, suppose if it is calling the algorithm, then we definitely require another algorithm, factorial. This time, this factorial is going to take a parameter by the name n. Now, let me know if you don't understand the things what I have explained so far with respect to the recursive algorithm and what I have written here. If you are lagging behind, if you need any further explanation, please do ask right now. We require two different algorithms, right? The first one is algorithm for a main, and the second one, okay, you can write or you can ignore, that is also no problem. You can write something like this: the algorithm for factorial. Okay, understood so far? Shall we proceed further?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, so in the recursive, if you just remember, the things which you have studied in first semester or a second semester, right? In recursive, two things are very important. The first one is returning value from the function, or in this case it is an algorithm, the returning value. And the second one is the condition at what particular point we have to stop the recursiveness. There should be a condition that should stop the recursive nature of the algorithm. If it doesn't happen, if we fail to put certain conditions, then the algorithm, that is recursiveness, go into an infinite loop and never it will return any results. To stop that particular recursiveness, we should have certain conditions. In this particular problem for the factorial, we do know that whenever the number is 0 or the number is 1, it is going to return, or it is going to give the factorial as 1. So the condition here we can put as, if the number n is equals to 0 or the number n is equals to 1. In such cases, we are going to unmute students yourself. Please unmute. Okay. So we know that whenever the number n, that is n is equals to 0 or n is equals to 1, the factorial is going to be a 1. That means when the condition is true, we will not display anything, rather we will return the value 1, right? When the return 1, the clause return is executed, what will happen? The function will come out of this particular, the algorithm will come out of this particular procedure and fall back to the its calling function or the calling algorithm. If not, then what we will do, else, pay attention here, we are going to return again. What we are going to return? The number n multiplied by the function call or the procedure call to the same algorithm. This time the number n, instead of n, it is going to be a n minus 1. Okay, now this is the algorithm for the recursiveness. We will understand this one by tracing this particular piece of lines. Now, to just summarize here, the factorial is an algorithm which is taking a parameter n. It checks whether that n is equals to 0 or 1. If it is true, it is going to return a 1. If not, it will return what? N multiplied by the next value is going to be what? A function call here. Again, that is a procedure call. It is going to call the same algorithm once again. That time it will not pass n, instead it will pass one less value, that is n minus 1. So again, next time the same algorithm is going to be called and then it will try to calculate the values. Now let us try to trace this algorithm, okay, and pay attention. Students, now 4 minutes is remaining. If the meeting gets over, immediately join back to the class. I will reinitiate the meeting. You have to immediately join back and the attendance will be taken later itself. Okay, I'm not going to capture the attendance this time. After the class gets over, immediately join the class for another 10 minutes. We'll complete the tracing and we will capture the attendance. Okay, now let's try to trace here. So the execution, when it starts, we know that it starts with the main procedure. It checks the number. Assume that the number n, what we are entering, assume that it is 3 here. Okay, so the n less than 0 condition is false. It will skip on to the else part. In the else part, we are calling the function here. So this is the first instance of the factorial function, right? So first time, how it will happen? The factorial with 3, it is going to call, right? So it will call factorial of 3. When it is called, the tracing or the flow of control will skip from here to its particular procedure here. So now the control is over here. So now this particular procedure is getting executed, right? Now I will write in the below line here for better understanding. Okay, now pay attention. Factorial of n. So what is the n value now? Here n value is, let me write it like this, n value is 3. For the n value 3, this particular condition, right? Is this particular condition becomes true or a false? Be quick, students.
False.
Condition is false.
False.
If the condition is false, what will happen? It will move on to the else part. So in the else part, what is going to happen? It is going to have return, right? N value is 3. 3 multiplied by factorial, right? So this time factorial n minus 1. So n minus 1 means what? 2.
2.
2.
Now what will happen? It is saying you return it. What to return? A number 3 multiplied by another number. But the value of this number is not known by the procedure. Rather, what it is actually, it is again a procedure call. To which? To the same procedure or the same algorithm. So it is going into an recursiveness here, right? Now, when this is called, this is another function call, like how it has happened over here, right? So it is another function call. Let me write this particular function call below here. So what is going to happen? In this case, n is 2. Now, this time, n is 2 means what? We are in this particular stage. Check whether that particular number n is 0 or a 1. So now tell me, is this particular condition becomes true or a false?
False.
False. The condition is false. False means it will get inside the else block. So in the else block, it is going to return what? It is going to return, right? What it is going to return? N into. So n value is what? 2. 2 multiplied by factorial of what? N minus 1, that is 2 minus 1, that is 1.
1.
Correct? So now again, it is trying to return something, a value multiplied by an unknown value, right? This will be calculated when once it calls this particular function. So again, it is calling the same algorithm or the procedure once again. Okay, now, so we are in the situation or a stage where we are trying to return a value, okay, that is 2 multiplied by the factorial of 1. Now this time again, what is going to happen? This factorial 1, the factorial procedure is going to be called by passing the value as 1, isn't it? So here, let us write. So this time n is going to be 1. That means what? We are in the same algorithm. Now look at the line number 187 here, right? Now tell me, now this time the condition becomes true or is condition will become false?
True.
True, right? The n value here, that is n value is 1 and the condition will become true. When the condition becomes true, what it is going to return? It is going to return 1.
1.
So here we are going to return some value. Let me write it. We are going to return 1 here. Return 1 means what? Pay attention. This is something which most of the time students will get confused. So return 1 means the function is called here. Look into here, the point which I am highlighting here. The function, to be precise, the procedure is being called here, factorial, with the 1 value. When procedure is called with the 1 value, it is returning the value 1 here. That means this place actually, it is going to be replaced with what? The value 1. So if I just comment and write, it is going to be what? 2 multiplied by 1. Now this 2 multiplied by 1 will be returned. So to be more precise, I will just remove all these lines and I will just write here 2. By 2, it is 2 into 1. Understood, students?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Understood? Okay. Now we are at this stage, right? Now what it is returning? Return 2. So return 2 means what? This 2 is going to be returned when the procedure is called with by passing value of n as 2. That means it is something like this particular factorial of 2, I can just straight away replace with 2 here, right? Now 3 into 2 means what? The computation will happen. It is going to produce a 6. Now 6 is going to be returned when this particular function is called. When this particular function is called for the first time, right? What was the first time where it was called? It was called here, isn't it? So when this is called, so I will get the value as 6. So is that 6? Is it the factorial of 3?
Yes, sir.
Understood how we got a 6 here in a recursive method? Because we wrote a piece of lines, few lines, wherein we have a proper return statement. If you look under the else part, the return statement, it is not simply a computation, that is multiplication of a numbers, but rather it involves one operand, which is nothing but the function call or a procedure call to itself. That is recursiveness. Second one, we have a particular condition which will terminate the infiniteness of recursive. It will not allow the procedure to go into an infiniteness. At a particular situation, it will ensure that it is going to stop. How it is going to stop? Because n sometime it will become either 0 or it will become either 1. At that time, we are going to return simply a value 1. Okay, understood, students? I'm just going to put it back for your reference. Just see if you don't understand any of these things. Feel free to ask your doubts. I'm here to solve it. Any confusions? Yes, ma'am.
Sir, what if n is 4?
If n is 4, what it is going to do? It is simple. Like, I will just try to modify here itself. If n is 4, okay, first time the factorial function will be called here, right? That time the n is value is going to be what? 4. Okay, so the function, that is the procedure, will get called, and that time the factorial of 4 is called. Factorial of 4 means what? Now look into this particular line. Is this condition becomes true or false? False.
False.
Condition becomes false because
False.
n is 4 and the condition is false. If the condition is false, it will go into the else block and it will go into the else block and it will call this statement, that is return. So what are we returning here? We are return what? N value, that is 4, multiplied by factorial of 3, that is n 4 minus 1, that is 3. Now this time this factorial will get called once again, that is showcased over here, right? If you try to trace it back, every time in all the recursive functions there will be two tracings. One is the forward tracing. In the forward tracing we will try to mention the steps where the function call or the procedure call will happen, that we call it to be a forward tracing. The second one is backward tracing. In the backward tracing we will try to write down the values for every recursiveness. For every function call or every procedure call, we will write the returned value. So this time what has happened? The factorial 3 is called. So factorial 3 will get called. So it will check all these things until it returns to the factorial of 1. When the factorial of 1 is reached, it is going to return one value. So 2 into 1, that is 2. 2 will be returned to this one. Then 3 into 2 will be returned over here, that is 6. This factorial of 4 is going to return now, it is going to return 6. That 6 will get substituted at this place. 6 will get substituted at this particular place. So 4 into 6 will perform, that is 24. That 24 is the final value that we will get, or we will substitute it at the first function call, that is here. So 24 will get substituted over here. Understood?
Yes, sir.
If suppose if the number is 5, then the same thing will be repeated for one more iteration, for one more recursiveness. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is the tracing part and this is the correct algorithm. Now I will ask you to take a snapshot of this one till here. Just write, wait a moment. Yes. This is, take a snapshot of this one and you can write it in your fair book.